4:42 on a Sunday afternoon. You are watching live breaking news coverage this Sunday night as we have learned that President Joe Biden has decided to end his re-election campaign for upcoming November. We want to expand the conversation. It's just been Bram and I for the last 2 hours or so. We decided to get more folks in on the conversation. Joining us right now is Stacy Pearson and Barrett Marson. Thank you both for coming in to talk to us about this very historic day in American history.
Well, thank you. Well, it should have been a historic day with Xander Schauffele winning the British Open. Instead, we had this interrupt. But this is crazy. I mean, it was only 8 days ago that President Trump survived assassination attempt, and now that was a millennia ago.
Yeah.
This is now just rocked the whole election again. Two massive incidents in 8 days. This is absolutely a crazy time.
And the debate less than a month ago.
The debate, I don't even, what debate? I mean, that was too long ago for me to remember.
So both of you have been on before with us, Barrett Republican, Stacy Democrat. Stacy, you probably called it too, Barrett, but I know you called it.
I did indeed.
That Joe Biden would eventually be forced out. The law of political physics, I guess. So you're not surprised. He has endorsed Kamala Harris. Does the Democratic Party now just coalesce around Harris?
I think the next 48 hours that will be decided. But right now, it's certainly looking like all of the momentum is behind Vice President Harris. She has endorsements from the Clintons, from other senators, Mark Kelly, in fact, from Arizona's own Congressman Ruben Gallego, Senate candidate. We have lots of momentum behind Vice President Harris, and it's going to be really interesting to see.
I think about the only person who really hasn't endorsed Harris yet, and again, it's only a few hours old, is Gavin Newsom, right? And Barack Obama.
Barack Obama, yeah.
But that's it. Otherwise, it appears that the Democratic Party is gelling around Kamala Harris.
So the reporting has been that Donald Trump and his campaign have been preparing for Joe Biden. They thought they had a fabulous plan to do that. Now they're confronted with likely Kamala Harris. How tough a shift will that be for Donald Trump? Is she perhaps in some ways tougher to take on than Joe Biden?
But there's a lot of dynamics in play, a lot of changes that have to be made. But a lot of the central themes of what the Trump campaign was going to attack Joe Biden on, they still get to attack Kamala Harris on the economy, on immigration. Kamala Harris was the immigration czar, and that hasn't really worked out so well, and we here in Arizona know that. So a lot of those kinds of attacks still work. What doesn't obviously work now is just the age thing, which was a huge problem for the Biden campaign.
Okay.
And now that's gone.
So is that now a huge problem?
I was about to say,
Look, obviously,
Trump will be
Trump is
78.
Right. He'll be right.
They were in high school at the same time.
I know, right?
I mean, the guy's not absolved on this one.
No doubt. But is there any doubt? I mean, Donald Trump tweets or truths or whatever at 2 in the morning and then 5 in the morning, right? I mean, he seems to be have more vigor.
That's not vigorous.
Either way, he seems always to be more triumphant, more active, more present than Joe Biden ever has been. Whatever you want to say, I mean, he is of course old, and he of course slurs his words and gets things wrong. But that's just Donald Trump, we say.
Stacey, what about that? Well, you can have a crack at the age, but also, is Kamala Harris in some ways a tougher opponent than Joe Biden?
Absolutely. And we're looking about issues that Arizonans care about, abortion being at the top of the list. It's funny, your rundown of all the things that Donald Trump's going to be talking about. You didn't talk about reproductive rights. That is going to be front and center. And there's one woman right now who's running to be the president of the United States who understands the decisions that need to be made in an OB's office. And it certainly isn't Donald Trump and the Project 2025 platform that honestly looks at a national abortion ban.
I don't know that anyone really cares about the 2025. I don't think anybody understands. I don't think most of the viewers understand what Project 2025 is. But they do understand interest rates are at 7%. They do understand that gas, though fluctuating now, has been at $4, even more a gallon. And that they will hold the Democrats, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, accountable for. So it's up to them, sure, to harp on reproductive rights, to really try to make that a central focus. But the Trump campaign will make the economy and immigration its central focus.
And does, I think as the Biden campaign planned, and I don't know how much a Harris playbook would divert from that, is Trump still the focus, whether it's Biden or Harris?
Absolutely. Yeah, Trump is absolutely the focus of this. The other issue we as Democrats were having going into November, when ballots are getting mailed in 80 days in Arizona, is apathy. We're young Democrats excited. We're diverse Democrats excited about this top of the ticket, with two old men who were in high school at the same time fighting it out. This changed everything today. So with Biden stepping aside and a young woman, a young black woman coming in, it's changed everything. We're no longer going to be fighting against apathy.
So I want to ask, so looking ahead to the convention in Chicago, frankly, I imagine something akin to 1968, not nearly as fraught as that was, as violent as that turned out to be, but you have younger people, Palestinian advocates protesting there pretty vigorously, I would expect. Does that go away if Kamala Harris is the nominee?
I think it certainly quiets down. I mean, what we're going to be looking at is how much is on the line with who gets the nuclear codes again. I mean, is it going to be Donald Trump or is it going to be Kamala Harris? Is she going to be ruling over this land, this really be the leader of the free world with a steady hand or not? And we've seen that Donald Trump again and again lacks discipline and lacks strategic
I was
focus.
speaking to that, how does he deal with Kamala Harris, a woman of color, and a woman?
A woman. You're right. Look,
Melania Trump had a hard time on stage the other night.
yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge for him to deal with a woman and a woman of color, but that's never stopped Donald Trump before. But what I would like to speak to is something that Stacy pointed out that is a problem for Republicans, and that is the young people. I literally had lunch last week in Tempe near ASU, and our waitress was 22 or 23, and she talked about how her friends didn't care as much about abortion. They saw Joe Biden as a war criminal. Those were her words, a war criminal for his support of Israel against the Palestinians. They also mentioned how Barack Obama is a war criminal and Bill Clinton, whatever. But they are unexcited to vote for Joe Biden. I think this may change that calculus, and Kamala Harris may bring in some of those young people who are angry with Joe Biden on the Palestinian issue. So I do think that is something really to watch for young people who already want to come out to vote for the abortion initiative, assuming it makes it to it stays on the ballot, and it's up to now Kamala Harris and Ruben Gallego to convince them, stick around. Come for abortion, but stick around for me. And so I think that's going to be something to really watch for, in ASU, U of A, NAU pockets.
We're hearing Republicans talk about the 25th Amendment, invoking the 25th Amendment to remove a president, saying that if Joe Biden can't handle a campaign, how can he handle the presidency? Your response to that?
His statement wasn't anything about not being able to handle the job for the next, 4 months, 5 months. It was all about doing the right thing for the country, and that needs to be celebrated. Joe Biden did something for the country today that we needed him to do. We as Democrats and we as Americans needed him to do.
And yet, he was being forced out of the presidency. He did not do this willingly. Do we agree to that?
Absolutely, 100%. The media and the donors and the Democratic insiders forced Joe Biden out, and I don't know that that's the wrong move. We saw on that debate stage someone who has lost not just a step but a mile, and I think that this is warranted. This should have happened maybe 8 months ago, 10 months ago. He should have had maybe a Lyndon Johnson moment in the spring to allow a full Democratic primary. But if I'm a Democrat, better late than never.
I was going to say, as for Kamala Harris, the accomplishments, and we've talked about this, that have happened during the Biden campaign, have those not been touted enough? And can that be her message going forward?
Oh, I think definitely can be her message going forward. You look at the investments in infrastructure in Arizona and in water security in Arizona. You look at the events she's had here in the state, the appearances she's made, those can absolutely be touted. It's hard, particularly with infrastructure, to talk about how exciting this stuff is when you're stuck in traffic because there's another lane coming in on I-10. I mean, it's a little difficult. But Arizona's economy, the manufacturing that is occurring, the CHIPS Act that invested in TSMC and all of these giant, huge employers, those are things that Kamala Harris can take credit for.
You both work on campaigns, you deal with messaging. I hear what you're saying. Those are all supported by the facts. And yet, despite the fact Arizona's unemployment rate is at historic lows, people think the economy sucks.
Try to buy a house. Try and get out of your starter home because you've had 2 kids and you want to get to a 4-bedroom home in the suburbs. Try to do that.
So is it impossible for what you're saying to break through, given what Barrett just said?
Well, it's certainly hard, right? I mean, we know exactly that.
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Really?
Well, and it's also self-servingly impossible. Like, I'm super excited about the equity that I have in my house. I lived through the recession. We lost a house in the recession. So both, I want housing prices to come down, but not too much, because personally, it's beneficial that housing prices went crazy. So we see schizophrenic landscape. I'm upset that my daughter, who's 21, can't get a house in our neighborhood, maybe ever. But I'm really excited about my own equity. And that we're seeing that across Arizonans.
But you know what, Bram? And this is a dirty word in life, but deflation. We have not seen deflation. Egg prices, which were $1.50 3 years ago, are now $3.50 a dozen, right? You know, again, gas and again, home prices. All
wait.
things.
How much are they?
What's that?
Egg prices are how much
Like
now?
$3.50 a dozen.
That's not what I pay, man.
Maybe you got Hickman's eggs or something. When I went to the store, it was like 2 months ago.
Continue, deflation, yeah.
So we haven't had prices come down, and again, deflation is a bad word, but
It's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing.
Economically.
But people, aren't, they got used to cheap money 3-4 years ago. That money isn't cheap anymore. Things are more expensive. Every time they go out to a restaurant, every meal is $5 more. Every entree is $5 more. And they're turned off by this economy, and that's why. Look, TMC expansion, that's great. And if you sit an economist up here, they will praise the CHIPS Act and everything. But how many voters are economists? And
Not enough.
Not enough.
obviously.
And what they see, they don't see the expansion of TSMC as some great win. What they see is trouble making their mortgage or rent, trouble trying just to get to a place that they can rent. Trying to qualify for a new mortgage. That's what they see. And that's the problem, the headwinds for Joe Biden, well, now Kamala Harris.
Any message in response? No.
Nah.
And Bram, that's exactly right. And that is why, look, I understand reproductive rights are important, and the Democrats.
We're going to go on
and
abortion?
Democrats will hammer that. But I'll tell you, the economy and immigration, when Donald Trump or any Republican is talking about anything other than the economy and immigration, they are losing. No need to talk about transgender, boys and girls bathrooms, nothing like that. Talk about the economy and talk about inflation.
Okay, let's talk about something else. Let's go one step down the ticket to vice president. We're hearing a lot of buzz from Arizonans about Mark Kelly,
right?
As a potential,
not just Arizonans.
Nationally, as a VP nominee, rate his chances as being the pick.
Oh, he's so good on paper, right? He's an astronaut, for the love. People love astronauts, and even more importantly, he's in a position where Governor Hobbs could appoint his successor, and we would start this whole rigmarole again. This seat could perhaps be hexed, and we could have a election every 2 years.
Another $200 million campaign
for eternity. But he's in a really good position. He would help carry Arizona. He also talks about immigration in a way that's sane. The border wall that Trump erected is silly and nonsense and clearly not working. But I think he really has a huge opportunity.
There are 2 things Mark Kelly really puts him in a pole position. I don't know that it's going to be him, of course, but he is a veteran who flew combat missions, and Donald Trump just picked J.D. Vance, a former Marine. So you've got someone who can take him on there. And he is married to a woman who survived an assassination attempt, who quite literally still deals with the impact of some serious brain trauma. In light of what happened 8 days ago, I think that is an incredible counter. Can you imagine the speech nominating or introducing Mark Kelly that Gabby Giffords would give at the convention? I think those are two incredibly powerful things that Mark Kelly has going for him. I don't know that it's going to be him. You know, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania can help carry Pennsylvania.
That's a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
North
Gretchen
Carolina.
Whitmer,
Yeah.
you know, 2 women on the ticket. I mean, that's a huge deal in Michigan. You know, from what I understand from Democrats, Kamala Harris is very close to Andy Beshear of Kentucky. But biography and what Mark Kelly can bring to the ticket is pretty substantial. I don't believe, is Josh Shapiro a veteran? I can't remember.
I don't know, but he's a former AG.
He's a former AG as well. Well, so is Beshear. And they were close, apparently, when the 2 of them were attorneys general.
I would just like to say that we're talking about a very deep Democratic bench right now, and it brings me joy in the depths of my heart. We have lots of folks that would be absolutely fantastic.
I think we need to have an
vice president.
apprentice-like tryout for VP, just like...
No.
But it's good to see that they do have a bench, especially because so many people talked about President Biden potentially being a transitional candidate and starting that process some years ago. We have to end the conversation right there, but Stacy, Barrett, thanks so much for taking time to join us on this very historic day. And thank you for being a part of this breaking news coverage right here on 12 News. All afternoon long, we'll have complete coverage for you coming up in about 30 minutes on 12 News at 5:30.